Oh, that's actually how you say my name in Hebrew. So that's really really cool. Yeah, in English it's like Jacobs, but wow, it's nice to hear my like the original way. Thank you. Also in Dutch, which is the original place where my father is from Amsterdam. So wow, okay. Thank you. That was amazing. So I'm going to talk to you about progressive web applications, and you've heard about this already today, hopefully. And we're going to see how Angular makes it easy for us to progressify our applications, right? So let's get started. First of all, a little bit about myself. I'm a front-end consultant and trainer. I've been working with front-end, specifically Angular, JS, and Angular for the past few years. Before that, I've done other stuff like C++, Java, Python, which are great, but you know, front-end, you just, you know. In my spare time, I'm doing this ngGirls, and we're actually having, these are pictures from ngGirls events. We're actually having an ngGirl event tomorrow here in Warsaw as part of this conference. And it's really, really exciting. Lots of women applied for this, and we have lots of mentors. Many of them are speakers in this conference, and others are attendees. So it's really awesome, and we all volunteer for this. And if you'd like to get involved, it's okay if you're a guy also, because you can help other women do that. If you'd like to get involved, just get in touch with me, and I'd love to spread the word all around the world. We already.
Sorry to interrupt, but I think it will be one of the biggest ngGirls events tomorrow in terms of attendance.
Yeah, that's right. It is going to be probably the biggest ngGirls event. We had more than 100 applications, and we have, I think, 20 or almost 20 mentors, and it's gonna be huge. That's right.
So congratulations.
Thank you. So we're gonna have more ngGirls events in Europe and in all over the world in the next few months. So really, we're looking for more mentors and more help and more team members also. Another little thing that I do in my spare time is I run the Angular Nights meetup in Israel, which is focused on learning by doing Angular and the ecosystem. Enough about what I do in my spare time. Let's talk about another thing that I do in my spare time and at work. I do Angular. So, we're talking about progressive web applications. What is progressive web applications? So, we've heard about it already today. Let's look at web applications. Since we've got strong computers, they can process really large applications on them, and the browsers became stronger, and the Wi-Fi connections became stronger and more reliable, and we're using it to really make mini apps, or even not mini so much, full-scale applications on the browser that every user can get access to from anywhere around the world, and you don't need to install it. And you can share the link to the application, and you can share a specific position, a specific route within the application with your friends, right? So lots of advancements there, lots of great things that we love. But then on the other side, we have mobile apps that have their own great things that they bring. So you can install an application on your mobile, and then you get your own data, and you get your own icon to open the application. You get notifications to tell you that something new has happened, and you should maybe do some kind of action, or maybe see some new data So that helps to engage the users, and it uses the device API. That of course we have a camera, we have GPS, we have a microphone all built in, and we have the API to use this in the applications. But there are some things that annoy us in mobile applications. You have to search them in the store. Okay, you can't just share a link or something. So you have to install them from the App Store or Google Store. So it's not linkable, like I said. You can't share a specific location, specific route within the application. You need permissions for everything. And you have to ask for these permissions right up front from the user. Okay, do you want to, or do you allow the application to use the camera, to access your contacts, to use your location, and so on and so on and so on. And the user doesn't even know what the application does. So if the list is too long, it's like, oh no, I want my privacy, and no, not this time. Okay, and updates. If you need new permissions in the update, then the user has to say, okay, please update this, and I grant you all the permissions, and then you can't use the application until it updates. So, but we have some good things. We have some not so great things. Let's put them together, maybe, all right? And that's we have this ability with progressive web applications, the best of both worlds. Okay, so these are like the 10 pillars of progressive web applications, the 10 things that we need to think about when we progressify our applications. And they boil down to these 3 very important things. Our applications should be reliable, fast, and engaging. Okay, so I'm not going to dive deep into this. I'm just going to tell you just a little bit about how our applications will be progressified. The things that we saw before that we didn't like in the mobile application. So we can install the web applications on the mobile phone now. We can have an icon to open the application, which opens actually the browser, but we can make it look as if it's not really the browser. The update can be in the background. If you need permission for something, for the camera or something else, you don't have to ask in advance. You can let the user get to using the camera and then say, okay, I need your permission to access the camera. Okay? So you can do this in time. And you've got also the ability to do notifications and a lot of other stuff that you have in the mobile app. It's linkable, of course, like we said before. So you might say, hey, but the browser doesn't have access to all these things. So there's a website called What Web Can Do Today, and it shows you what the browsers can do, and they can do almost everything that the mobile devices can, the native applications can. Of course, there are differences between different operating systems and different browsers. So at this point, Apple has just announced that it will be supporting progressive web applications within a year. So it's good news. It's getting there. So start writing progressive web applications, please. They have realized that it is what we want. This is the future. Okay. All right. So like I said, I'm not going to dive deep into what progressive web applications are, what the characteristics are, what the good practices are, but I really recommend this great talk by Christian Hellman. I was there at the audience when he gave this talk, and I really enjoyed it. I watched it again on YouTube, and he really goes deeply into what you should do and where you shouldn't struggle also, okay? Don't, for example, you don't have to give all the features that you have for a complete for web applications that runs on a browser and on a desktop. You don't have to give all the features in the mobile progressive web application, because when you're working on a large screen, it's easier to do some things, and you don't want the users to struggle to do this in the small mobile screen. So that's a little example of what he's talking about. So I recommend this talk. Okay, there is a tool that is used. There are several more tools, of course, but this is one main tool that is used to test your app for progressiveness and for performance and other things. We will use it here to test our application. Now, you can install it as a Chrome developer tool. No, I'm sorry, it does exist already as a Chrome in the Chrome DevTools. You can install it as a Chrome extension, but you don't really need this already. And if you're not using Chrome, you can install it as an NPM package and just run it in the command line. Okay. All right, our demo application for today. This is a songbook, and my motivation for making it progressive is that sometimes we want to access lyrics to our favorite songs from our mobile, from places where maybe there is no Wi-Fi connection or no reliable internet connection. For example, we're in the middle of the forest, just having a campfire, and there's nothing around, there's no antennas, no reception, no nothing, and we still want to have access to our favorite songs because we have the guitar and we start playing, right? So this was my motivation for doing that. So you can actually go now to these links. I actually created 3 different Firebase applications for this. So there is one called Songbook Not PWA, which has almost no features of progressive web applications. The second one with the E2 BA5 is the one that has all the features right away. And I have another one called just Songbook PWA, which we're going to work on now, and hopefully I can show you how it becomes progressive after we add some stuff, right? So these are also the things that I'm using in my application. So I'm using Angular, of course. Angular CLI, if you're not familiar, there was a talk about it yesterday. It's a command line tool that helps us create our project, control it, keep developing our project, gives us all the boilerplate. It builds our project. It gives us tests. Of course, we need to write the tests. It doesn't write our own tests. It gives us a boilerplate of tests. It gives us the command to run our tests. So it serves our application in localhost. It builds our application and helps us in the whole process to just focus on writing a great application without all the stuff around. And it also tries to make it as lean as possible, as performant. They keep working on minimizing the bundle that you're getting in the build process. So lots of great things to say about the Angular CLI. I love working with it. By the way, if you start working with it today, the current version has a few bugs with when you generate a component, so it doesn't take all the defaults that you have for inline templates, for example. So be aware of that. Hopefully they will fix it soon. Okay, I'm using Angular Material, or if you install it, then it's Angular Material 2, because the original one was for AngularJS. That's Angular 1. So Angular Material helps me build the layout very, very quickly, again with the best practices of how things should look like, and it's also responsive and looks a bit different in the mobile. And I'm using Flex Layout, which I'm going to show you a really cool feature that helps me with the progressive web application just in a moment. I'm using an experimental package of Angular, which is of course being developed and going to reach to a final release at some point, Service Worker, and we're going to see the magic that it does. So on the server side, or serverless side, when I'm using Firebase, it really gives me the whole server, everything I need there with database, hosting, authentication, and more stuff that, again, they've already implemented this with the best practices, so I don't really need to think about it, to worry about it. I just need to think about my use cases and to connect my application to Firebase. All right. So then I'm going to talk about Flex Layout, because we want, one of the features of progressive web application is that it looks good on mobile. It looks different. It is responsive. So some of the features of Angular Material, for example, or other features, we would like to control differently from a desktop or from a mobile. So we want to know in the components, and not only in the CSS, if it's what is the size of the screen. Okay? So I'm going to show you now part of the code. I'll show you the application first. Okay, so this is the live application of not a progressive application. And the specific feature I'm using a Flex Layout for is this list on the side, the list of songs, which if the screen is big enough, then it will load when it's open, and then I can minimize it if I want. But if we're looking at a mobile view, then I want to load it with the list closed, and also its behavior will be a bit different when I open it. It pushes the content aside. Okay? So this is something that comes from the component, from JavaScript, not from the CSS. So I was struggling to find a way to make this happen. And I saw I can just use Flex Layout to do this. And Flex Layout, and this is a library that also comes with Angular. I can show you here. Let me open where I'm using it, Songbook component. Okay. So it exposes this observable media from Angular Flex Layout. So Flex Layout also gives us directives to have a Flex this layout within our template, but this observable media, it helps us know what kind of screen we have from within the component. So we're using it here, we're injecting it in the constructor, so I call it media, and I'm asking if this media is active, extra small, I hope you can see this, yeah. If this screen is extra small, then start with the list closed, list open false, and the side nav mode, which is the Angular material property for the way the side nav behaves, will be pushed. Otherwise, start with the list open, and this will be the mode of the side nav. It will be side. I'm not going to get into what it means in Angular material, but this is really, really helpful for me at this point. Okay. So if we go back to the application, we have a list of songs. In the different versions, I have maybe more songs. And what this application does, first of all, you can sign in. Really, you can. It's online. You can use it. You can sign in. Right now, signing in with email and password will not work. Only with Google. Okay? And well, you can see all the songs, even when you're not signed in. But you can add a new song only when you are signed in, and you can only edit your own songs. Okay, so if I'm trying to, I think this doesn't have my user on it. So if I have Dust in the Wind, for example, let me see, I'll put just an enter here and save, and it will give me an exception here. And I can see that it wasn't saved. But if I'm adding a new song, give me a song.
Hey Jude.
Hey Jude. Alright. Great song. I knew I could trust you guys to give me a good example. Oh. Yeah, that's okay. Okay, so hopefully it works the same in all the versions. Hey, Jude. Save. Okay, so it is saved. And if I try to edit it, then it will be saved. Okay. But it's not the same database in all the examples, so we won't see it here or here. We can use the same song, though, as a test. Okay, so I've already mentioned Lighthouse, so let's test our application. Oh, I already did that, so let's try again. Oh, you really need to take care of your exceptions, of course. This is just a demo application, still not not in production, really. Okay, so it will test if it's how much it's a progressive web app, its performance, its best practices, and accessibility. So we'll run the audit, and you see it actually runs it and tries to run it in mobile mode. And so far it looks horrible, because if you have a low internet connection and you don't see anything, and not so great, and oh my god, 36, I got a better result before. 36 progressive web app, 0 in performance, 94 accessibility, something went really wrong here. But we can also see in the network, if we just reload this this application, we can see that it takes time to fetch the resources, and it transfers almost 400 kilobytes from the server, and to get the whole application actually. And we can, of course, also see here how much time it takes until we actually see something meaningful on the screen. Okay? And, oh, another thing. If we're offline, and we try to reload it, then we get the Connectosaurus. The dinosaur. Yeah, so not so great. So let's see how we can progressify our web application with Angular. So let's go back to the slides. Okay. So we talked about Flex layout. Oh, and before we start, a great resource for keeping yourself updated with how to progressify your web application with Angular is Maxim, who has been on the stage just a short while ago. It will also give us a more native app look where that we configure, so the browser will have the colors that we want and so on. Okay, so the way we do it, we will need to add the JSON, which is the app manifest, and we will need to load it in index.html, and to have it as an asset when we build the application, we have to add it in the Angular CLI JSON configuration file. Okay, so let's do that. Okay. Oh, just so you see the end result, it will be something like that. Okay, that's an actual screenshot from my phone, from the version that is already progressive. Okay. Okay. These are the results on the version that we're going to work on right now. Also, not so great. And it also tells you what you should improve. And it gives you screenshots until the first meaningful paint. Okay. So let's go to the code. So I already have the manifest ready here. So I'm not going to go over all of it because you have enough resources on the web to understand what's going on here. But it has, for example, a theme color that you can choose. So I chose the beautiful purple, and the description background color, and of course all the icons for all the different devices. So you're gonna have to use some kind of a service that will generate icons in different sizes for you, and they're all here under assets, app icons. Okay, for Android, for Chrome. Okay, so once you have this, you have to load it in the manifest, and also tell the browser what theme color it should use also from here. And so you just add these lines into index.html, and then we'll go to Angular CLI JSON, and we will add it as an asset over here, manifest.json. Okay, so now when we build the application, it will be one of the assets, and we can serve it with it. Okay, so ng build. Okay, I'm using the flags production to minimize the code, the bundles, and build optimizer, which optimizes it even more, which is also experimental at this moment, but it works, so why not? Okay, so what it's going to do, it will create all the files that we need in the dist folder, and I've already configured a Firebase application here using Firebase tools, and I connected it to the right Firebase project, and I have here in the environments production, I have here all the keys needed to access the Firebase project, the database, and so on. Okay, so this is the first step. I don't think I'm going to wait for it. I'm going to show you the further steps. So another thing that we've noticed is that nothing is shown on the screen until it takes a while until it loads all the JavaScript and Angular is initiated, and only then Angular can show us these Angular material components and everything that we see on the screen, right? So it takes 4 seconds, more than 4 seconds, until we see something on the screen. Now we can change that. We can change that by adding things. This is the root Angular component that we're using, and whatever we put here inside will be rendered before Angular takes over, before Angular is loaded. Okay? So we can already give the browser some stuff, some HTML and CSS to show us before we have the JavaScript going on. Okay? So I've already created here. Oh, sorry, not what I wanted to do. Yeah, a small component or two. We have a loader, and we have a header that looks similar to what we have in the application. Okay, and we're gonna need a lot of style for that. Okay, so let me see if I have it here. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just adding the style here in line. You can, of course, maybe load it from a different file or something. So it's style for the spinner, for the loader, and style for the header, where is it? And some general style for the HTML and body, because also the style bundle takes time to load, so it doesn't do it immediately. If you don't include this here, then you'll see it kind of jump in the code. We can actually test it right away and just serve in our local host. Okay, oops, take time, of course, until it builds at least a little bit. Come on, we don't have time. Okay. Okay. Okay, this is what I added. And then it kind of replaced it itself. It could be better. And the Angular team actually works on a way to, on a tool that will take our application and see what it's made of, and will create a static app shell for us to start working with. We also have Angular Universal, but it is more for server-side rendering. So it's not so easy to do this with Angular Universal, but you can do this also. Okay, you can render it on the server and take the result to show it. Okay, and the last thing I want to talk to you about is the service worker. So Maxim has already talked about it a little bit. The service worker is JavaScript file that will run in the background of the browser. It will run even when the browser is closed. Okay, and each application can have one service worker. So it can, what can it do? It can help you cache your assets, so that if the user has to load initially your application when they're online, because you need to be online at least once, but then when they go offline, they will have some cached assets. It is also used for notifications. So you know, all these websites now ask you, do you want to get notifications from this website? And you say, no, please, no, why, I don't want to get notifications from my bank or whatever. So sometimes you do want it, and of course on the mobile you do want to get notifications. So you will get them even when the browser is closed, or if you're not surfing the this particular website. So writing a service worker, there are so many things that you can write there, but of course we always do the same things. We cache things, we use it for notifications, we cache dynamic assets, static assets, and so on. So again, here Angular comes and helps us. it will produce its service worker for us. We just have to give it some configuration. So how does it work? We just install Angular service worker, and then we add a flag in the Angular CLI JSON, okay, with the service worker true. And then when we build, we already have a service worker ready for us. Okay, so let me show you. Right now, in our build, because I served, then it doesn't have the list anymore. Okay, so let's stop this. Okay, so if I build right now, I would really want to show this, but I don't have time, I think. You will not get a service worker. But if we go to manifest, to Angular CLI, and we'll add here somewhere, doesn't matter really where, service, was it lowercase or, yeah, okay. Service worker true, okay. Then it will build a minimal service worker for us for caching the basic application. But I want to do more than that. So it also has an option of taking a service worker manifest that is just a file, a JSON file that we will put in the root of our application. And we have to configure here a few additional things. So it will already cache our assets from the application itself, but here are a few things that we want to add to it. So for example, we have a single page application, but it knows when we deploy it, the service worker knows about index.html. It doesn't know that all our routes should load this file actually. So if we're routing to songbook or to sign in, it will not know to fetch index.html in this case. So we have to tell it here in the routes, okay? And you can match exact route, or for songbook, for example, we have the song ID after the songbook in the URL, so you can match prefix. Then you have dynamic assets that you want to load. I will run this in the meantime. You have dynamic assets that you want to load to cache. So for us, it's the songs that are in the server. So they're kind of dynamic. They are dynamic. So we can put them in groups, and for each group we can say what is the cache strategy that we would like to have. Okay, so here is also something that you should know about caching. Firebase is known for its ability to be a real-time database, but when you use it as a real-time database, then you're not able to cache it through the service worker. So if you want to cache data, real-time data, then you should use IndexedDB for that and configure it in another way. So here in my application, instead of using Angular Fire to fetch the data and to have an open channel between this and Firebase, I will show you the songbook service. I actually using HTTP GET for getting the JSON of the data that I want to get. Okay, so not really the Firebase way, but this is the way you would do this to cache. Okay, so it finished bundling up, building our. Where is it? Hey. Oh, here it is. All right, awesome. Okay, so we have in the assets, the app icons, styles, everything we need. In index.html, we have everything that we added. Okay, and it also loads. It also loads a service worker register file, which is added by the service worker package of Angular that we have. This is the one. And this is the worker basic, which is which takes our manifest, our service worker manifest, which is not to be confused with the app manifest, and adds the functionality that we wanted for caching the dynamic resources and the routing configurations. If you want to see, this is minified, but if you want to see the service worker that they have, you just have it in the node modules, on Angular, here in the service worker, I think in bundles, yeah, worker basic, and you can actually read the file and the service worker and understand what's going on here, and it's really long, really long. So just so I'll deploy this now to Firebase. Deploy. Now I do only hosting because my functions and database rules are already deployed. They haven't changed. I hope it deploys to the right project. So just let's take another look. Oh, that's it. At the manifest, when you cache dynamic assets, you can say if you optimize it for performance, which will take it from the cache first, or for freshness, that will try to get it from the server first. You can say how many entries you would like to have maximum, because you don't want to have a cache of thousands of items. What is the maximum age? Because if you cache for optimized for performance, then at some stage your data will be stale, and you will know that okay, it's time to refresh the data. And the strategy. So this is least
recently used.
Recently used. Least recently used. Okay. Least and recently really got me here. And you can also use FIFO, first in, first out. So there are more configurations here that you can do also, for example, for external assets. If you load icons or fonts from some other website, then it can also cache them from some other server that you don't control. So I gave you a link for more configurations, so you can try that out. So this is the local one. This is Songbook PWA. Okay. So audits. Let's close and reopen. Let's first of all see if anything changed in our load. Where is the network? Come on, network. Okay. So the bundle size, not so great. But we saw the spinner. Okay. Hey, what's going on here? I think something goes crazy. Oh, it loads also all the icons. It doesn't really have to do that. I have to fix that. It loads all the icons that I added. Okay, so not so great. But if I refresh, then because it's already cached, it loads like 13 kilobytes. If I go and look at some songs, Dust in the Wind and Heal the World, okay, and then I go offline. Where is offline? Okay. Okay. So it can't get the assets, but they're here. Okay, so I can see Heal the World. We can see Dust in the Wind. Sorry, it's kind of loaded in mobile mode. Dust in the Wind, Heal the World, but it won't load the other songs. Okay. You can sign in with your phone. You can get this app, song-book-pwa.firebaseapp.com. Go there, try it out, install it, see how the browser looks. Maybe you can also, this is how it will work on mobile, how it would look. No, what did I do here? And I want to have audits again. I'm sorry, I don't want to keep you from lunch so much. So we're using here a lighthouse again. Hopefully things will improve. Here it already has a first meaningful rendering. And so we added the service worker, which again, Angular with the tools really helped us. They're working on tools for a lot of other things for progressive web applications. So really keep updated with that. So this is the lighthouse audit that I ran before, and it's supposed to get much better. Okay, so still have to deal with the performance here, but we can do better things. You saw the icons that are loading, for example. So we actually touched most of the pillars of progressive web applications. One, but the re-engageable. So there are also great and easy ways to do push notifications. Like I said, with the service worker, even when you're not surfing this web application, when your browser is closed. So there are ways to do that, and also ways, of course, with Firebase to send these notifications, and not only with Firebase. But just one thing that you should really think about when you implement these notifications, to have them to be meaningful and not too many notifications. So this is, for example, a screenshot of my own personal phone in the end of the day, and it has 37 or more notifications from Twitter. And I just can't handle it every day. Like, what am I supposed to do with it? Come on. And I spend an hour like looking at all these tweets and deciding whether I have to like share them or something. So try to give more meaningful and not so annoying notifications. I think this is the last slide. So you can reach me in any way here. I'll share the slides. I'll also upload the code on GitHub. And just before we finish, let us see the, oh wow, all green. Thank you. All right, so you can really log into this application and add your own songs. And the user is saved with each song, so don't put stupid things, please. I will know who did this. Okay, and yeah, enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you very much.